This channel is supported by Truefire.
Well, what is this all about then? It's the Truefire Summer Music Festival. What I'm going to tell you about, you can get 1 month of All Access for just $1. The All Access, you can dip in and out of every single course on Truefire, so that's a really great way to get some awesome courses down you.
Okay, so this was not really what I expected, but I had the opportunity to trade in a few guitars and ended up walking away with this Fender Custom Shop 57. And if you're familiar with the Telecaster Arc, the obvious kind of question for me was, like, how does it compare to my Nacho Blackguard, which I got earlier in the year? So this is a video kind of addressing that. I'm going to compare in this video sort of tone, which is one thing. Also, I think importantly, because one of the things with the Fender Custom Shop stuff is that I think the relic stuff is very, very variable. Now, this is the Journeyman relic, and I think actually this one is a very nice example. The Nacho stuff, I think, you know, one of the things that is really kind of a standout with the Nacho is like the attention to detail on the relic and the realism. Like, obviously, if you're not into relics, then this is probably irrelevant. You go for like Fender Custom Shop, new old stock type stuff anyway. Or something like a K-Line, which, you know, I think are really good guitars for the money. It's just that the relicing is more like this and, well, less of the fingerboard sort of wear, but, you know, checking and a very light bit of wear in general, unless you specifically asked for a more heavy relic. Whereas I think the Nacho stuff seems to me to stand in a little bit of a tier of its own. Now, one area that I think is really key for me here, and I don't know which is the best way for you to see this, but the outside of this gauge is the about the 10th, 12th fret area. So this is the Fender, this is the Nacho. The middle is closer to the nut, so this is the Fender, this is the Nacho. And what you can see, although the Fender says that it's a soft V, I think you'll be able to tell that the shoulders are much more pronounced here, and on the V, basically, it's just a V all the way down, and there are really quite slim shoulders, and that's kind of the case across the whole neck. So if you imagine, like, this is your neck, where your thumb would be, like, it's definitely more of a pronounced V. This soft V, to be honest, like, is not a very pronounced V at all compared to the Nacho. So that, for one reason, is why actually, for me, like, the Fender probably is going to be more likely to be a guitar that you might see me playing more often, just because over time, what I found with the Nacho when I was playing it for a month, like, solid, the V actually kind of had some sort of issues for my left hand as like a legato player. Now, if this is not your only guitar, or if you're not playing technique wise like I do, if you're more of a thumb over person, I think you're going to have far less issues with it. The annoying part of this is actually, I find playability wise, this V in the moment, I really like it. It's just over time I start to notice sort of little bits of like fizzy feelings in my left hand, and I think those are signs that maybe like playing a V for my particular technique all the time is maybe not the best idea. I also feel like I possibly prefer the neck relic on the Fender, which is definitely not something I'd have ever expected, but it's really nice on this front. They got this, they call it fretboard ghosting or fret ghosting. I kind of like this sometimes, but oftentimes it can be a little bit overdone. I think this is essentially done with like a Dremel, right? And then you kind of stick like vinegar and iron filings on the fretboard. The one area of the Fender Custom Shop stuff that they do basically on all of their necks is this pretty bare bones sort of approach to it, where it's like, well, there's no lacquer here, and then you get a lacquer at the ends, which is a nice feeling thing. It does mean there's more exposed wood. It's quarter sawn maple, so in theory it should be quite a bit more stable anyway. But on the Nachos, it's a very different approach, which is like, it's more sort of tailored to an area that suits where the majority of the playing theoretically on this relic was done. Yeah, I think I'll show you some close-ups of that side of things, because there is a very stark difference. Let's get into some tonal aspects. I think the Fender is a bit brighter in all positions. If I put on a bit of drive, think a bit more of a mellow sound on this one. So yes, I think with the Nacho you're getting a bit more of a sort of one-off type experience, although again, they're not actually one-off, but closer maybe to this kind of Fender master built kind of concept, where I think you do get a piece which kind of is a bit more convincing, maybe looks a bit more like something old, but ultimately, especially at the moment, I think I had a chat with John on email who was like talking about the cost of actually getting one in the States. Unless you're able to get one of the batches that goes to like Watchtower Guitars or something like that, then you're going to be paying a considerable amount to get a Nacho over to the States, unless you can find one used. In which case, would I really say that I feel like it's, you know, worth maybe nearly double the price of the Fender Custom Shop here? You know, I think try them in your own hands, but in terms of which is going to get more playing time, I guess time will tell, but neck shape is kind of one of the most crucial factors, I think. Anyway, yeah, authenticity and that sort of stuff, I think you might want to go with the Nacho. In terms of a playable type workhorse, again, if you find one with a nice kind of, well, for me personally, if it had a C-neck, then definitely this would be the choice that I would go for. But the Fender Custom Shop also cannot be disregarded, and over time, it'd be interesting to see, you know, do the Nachos continue to appreciate in value? Are they going to maintain their sort of reputation? I think looking at it up close, honestly, if you're into the relic stuff, you're going to love it. If you hate relic stuff, you're going to hate it. But yeah, I think there are reasons that people really like the Nacho. But again, if you're in the States, then potentially a Custom Shop, or even a Telecaster, you know, K-Line. These things, I think, in many ways are excellent choices too. If you find a really good Fender Custom Shop, then I think they're about as good as anything else that you can find as well. It's just that some of the relicing can be really, and this is the case with kind of like the point of one-off sort of relic stuff, some can be really unconvincing, to the point of laughable, and then some of it can be quite tastefully done, like this one. Whereas all the Nacho stuff, in my opinion, is very tastefully done. And definitely a much more mellow sound on the Nacho, which I think is also a part of what people like about them in some ways. You know, like that, the Fender Custom Shop, to me, does sound like a new, bright guitar. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.